Welcome to Middle East Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Houthis are recruiting record fighters. How will it affect Yemen? Netanyahu unveils plan for Gaza's future post-Hamas. Israel's Netanyahu presents first official day after plan for Gaza. Israel plans to build 3,300 new settlement homes. It says it's a response to a Palestinian attack. US faces 4 threats but only equipped for one war, experts say. Houthis are recruiting record fighters. How will it affect Yemen? Al Jazeera. The Houthi rebels in Yemen have recruited and trained over 200,000 new fighters since they began their actions in the Red Sea in support of Palestine, according to a Houthi spokesperson. The group has been intercepting and attacking Israel-linked ships passing through the Bab al-Mandeb Strait to pressure Israel for a ceasefire in Gaza. The Houthis have also widened their attacks to include ships linked to the US-led coalition that is currently attacking their positions in Yemen. The surge in recruitment is expected to drastically alter the political landscape in Yemen and make a ceasefire in the country's ongoing civil war less likely. However, a Houthi official stated that opportunities for peace still exist and that the group does not intend to target any internal party unless it targets them to serve the Zionists. The popularity of the Houthi cause has led to a significant increase in recruitment, with Yemenis joining the group to fight against Israel and its Western allies. Netanyahu unveils plan for Gaza's future post-Hamas. CNN. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has unveiled a plan for the future of Gaza post-Hamas, which includes the complete demilitarization of the enclave, closing off the territory's southern border with Egypt, as well as the reorganization of Gaza's civil administration and education systems. The plan has been met with opposition from key parties, including the U.S. Secretary of State and Egypt. However, Netanyahu has sent a negotiating team to Paris to pursue talks over a potential ceasefire and hostage release deal that may end the 4-month-long war. Israel's Netanyahu presents first official day after plan for Gaza. South China Morning Post. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has presented a day after plan for Gaza, his first official proposal for when the war in the Hamas-run Palestinian territory ends. In the document, Netanyahu suggests that Israel would maintain security control over all land west of Jordan, including the occupied West Bank and Gaza. In long-term goals listed, he rejects the unilateral recognition of a Palestinian state and says a settlement with the Palestinians will only be achieved through direct negotiations between the two sides. Israel plans to build 3,300 new settlement homes. It says it's a response to a Palestinian attack. Associated Press. Israel has announced plans to build over 3,300 new homes in settlements in the Israeli-occupied West Bank as a response to a fatal Palestinian shooting attack. The decision is likely to anger Washington at a time of growing tensions over the course of Israel's war on Hamas in the Gaza Strip. The move is opposed by the Biden administration, which seeks eventual Palestinian governance in Gaza and the West Bank as a precursor to Palestinian statehood. Construction of settlements has accelerated under Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's right-wing government, which includes settlers in key positions. U.S. faces 4 threats but only equipped for one war, experts say. Nikkei Asia. The Biden administration's struggle to push through Congress a massive supplemental budget to fund ongoing battles in Ukraine, Gaza and a potential future conflict in Taiwan has brought to the fore a fundamental question: how many wars can America take on at once? The U.S. military is currently sized to be able to conduct something less than 2 simultaneous or overlapping major conflicts, the Congressional Research Service noted in a report titled Great Power Competition: Implications for Defense Issues for Congress, last updated in January. For almost 3 decades after the end of the Cold War, the Pentagon maintained a 2-war construct, under which the U.S. made sure it had the ability to win 2 simultaneous wars in different theaters. The idea was that the U.S. would be able to take on a hostile country in the Middle East such as Iraq or Iran and still be able to defeat North Korea in East Asia. German lawyers sue politicians including Scholz over complicity in Gaza. Al Jazeera. A group of lawyers is filing a criminal complaint against senior German politicians for aiding and abetting genocide in Gaza. The case is being brought against several members of Germany's Federal Security Council, including Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and accuses them of supporting Israel's actions in Gaza. The lawyers, who represent Palestinians with roots in Gaza, say they are using all means at their disposal to hold the German government accountable. The case will also focus on German weapons exports to Israel, which increased significantly in 2023. At least 40 people killed in central Gaza as Israel touts post-war plan. Al Jazeera. Israel has killed at least 40 Palestinians in attacks on central Gaza, leaving over 100 people injured. The majority of casualties were women and children. Israel's Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has outlined a plan for the future of Gaza, which includes the installation of local officials to administer the area, and the complete demilitarization of Gaza. The U.S. has called for an immediate ceasefire. However, the U.S. has vetoed a third resolution at the UN Security Council calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Morning Report: Biden's border dilemma. Hill. President Biden is weighing executive options that could address some of the key policies included in a now scuttled bipartisan Senate bill to deny asylum to some border crossers. The concept of shutting out some asylum seekers under newly imposed criteria is exceedingly unpopular among some on the left who recoil in disbelief that Biden might attempt to triangulate Trump's policies in an effort to defeat him if the former president, as anticipated, captures the GOP nomination. Biden is considering closing some doors under existing law as a way to respond to critics who agree with Trump that migration was and remains a national security problem. The White House cautioned reporters Thursday that Biden cannot invent a substitute for new immigration legislation. Legal challenges are a certainty. The president is not close to a decision. Paris to host Gaza ceasefire talks, 2 weeks after last bid failed. South China Morning Post. Israel will participate in negotiations this weekend in Paris with the United States, Qatar and Egypt regarding a potential deal for a ceasefire and release of hostages in Gaza. Although the last talks on a ceasefire failed 2 weeks ago, the head of Palestinian militant group Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, was in Egypt this week, providing a sign that negotiations remain alive. Israel's war cabinet has approved sending negotiators, led by the head of Mossad intelligence service David Barnea, to Paris on Friday for talks on a potential deal to free more than 100 hostages kidnapped from Israel in October, whom Hamas is still believed to be holding. Uber to back Nigerian startup move in up to $100 million round. Bloomberg. Uber is reportedly in discussions to invest up to $100 million in Move, an African vehicle financing startup. The funding round would increase Move's enterprise value to around $750 million, up from $650 million. The investment would allow Move to expand its services across Africa, the UK, the UAE, and India. Move provides financing to drivers for ride-hailing services, using a credit scoring system and a percentage of their weekly income. The startup closed a $76 million equity and debt round in August 2020, which included BlackRock and Mubadala Investment. Hello, everyone. It's your friendly neighborhood 6 doctor here, bringing you the latest news from across the 6 dimensions. Let's dive right in. First up, we have news from Yemen, where the Houthi rebels have been recruiting record numbers of fighters. With over 200,000 new fighters joining their ranks, the Houthi rebels have been ramping up their attacks on Israel-linked ships in the Red Sea. This surge in recruitment is expected to have a significant impact on the political landscape in Yemen and make a ceasefire in the ongoing civil war less likely. Moving on to Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has unveiled a plan for Gaza's future post-Hamas. The plan includes the complete demilitarization of Gaza and the reorganization of its civil administration and education systems. However, the plan has faced opposition from key parties, including the U.S. Secretary of State and Egypt. Despite this, Netanyahu has sent a negotiating team to Paris to pursue talks for a potential ceasefire and hostage release deal. In another development, Israel has announced plans to build over 3,300 new settlement homes in the Israeli-occupied West Bank in response to a Palestinian attack. This decision has raised tensions with the Biden administration, which seeks eventual Palestinian governance in Gaza and the West Bank. The construction of settlements has accelerated under Prime Minister Netanyahu's right-wing government. Shifting our focus to the U.S., experts are warning that the country is currently only equipped for one war, despite facing 4 potential threats. The Biden administration's struggle to push through a massive supplemental budget to fund ongoing battles in Ukraine, Gaza, and a potential conflict in Taiwan has raised questions about America's ability to take on multiple wars simultaneously. This is a crucial question for the U.S. military, which has traditionally maintained a 2-war construct. In Germany, a group of lawyers is filing a criminal complaint against senior politicians, including Chancellor Olaf Scholz, for complicity in genocide in Gaza. The case accuses the politicians of supporting Israel's actions in Gaza and will also focus on German weapons exports to Israel. The lawyers aim to hold the German government accountable for its actions. In Gaza itself, Israel has killed at least 40 Palestinians in attacks on central Gaza, including many women and children. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu has outlined a plan for the future of Gaza, which includes the installation of local officials and the complete demilitarization of the area. The U.S. has called for an immediate ceasefire, but a resolution at the UN Security Council was vetoed by the US. On the US domestic front, President Biden is considering executive options to address some key immigration policies. Biden is weighing the idea of denying asylum to some border crossers, a concept that is highly unpopular among some on the left. The president is facing pressure to respond to critics who view migration as a national security problem, but legal challenges are expected. And finally, we have news from Africa, where Uber is reportedly in talks to invest up to $100 million in Move, a vehicle financing startup. This investment would allow Move to expand its services across Africa, the UK, the UAE, and India. Move provides financing to drivers for ride-hailing services and has previously received investments from BlackRock and Mubadala Investment. That's all the news I have for you today, folks. Remember, stay informed, stay curious, and keep exploring the 6 dimensions. And now, I want to hear from all of you. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions for me? Let's get the discussion going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.